Hey everybody, and welcome to the Patty G Show. If you are coming at us live from Facebook or you're joining into the podcast, you are listening to the Patty G Show. I am your host, Patty G, here with Nic DiChiara from Grabit. He is a co-founder of Grabit. Nic, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I know we had a little bit of setup issues. We've got a little bit of a bigger production here today, so thank you for your patience.
Of course, of course.
So for those that may not be aware, what is Grabit in a nutshell?
Yeah, so Grabit is an on-demand pickup and delivery service. We have an app. You can go on, you can order anything from any store or restaurant. We try to have everything listed and have it picked up and delivered, usually within 40 minutes.
Okay.
And we don't want to have any limitation on how far you can deliver it, or we don't like radiuses that you can only deliver in. We want anyone to be able to use it.
Okay, so it's you get whatever you want, but you do more than just restaurants, right?
Yeah, we do restaurants. We get a lot of grocery orders, retail orders. People send flowers, all kinds of crazy things.
Gosh, dude. So how do you kind of control just the uncertainty that's going to come through the app? I mean, you've got people coming in from groceries to, I think one of y'all's pictures was like a car part from O'Reilly's or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, so we have certain controls. We used to have to touch each order to where every time one came in, we would approve it. The administrators would go in and say, okay, we'll let this one go through. And now we're utilizing our drivers more. And so like we have some automation that we put in where we are now blocking a lot of items. If it has keywords that we know we can't deliver, then we do that. But then also we're utilizing the drivers. We're saying, before you take this order, before you pick it up, make sure it's not one of these things first.
Okay. And so what are the criteria for not being able to be delivered?
So anything that can explode.
Okay.
It really, the good thing is that most of the time people are ordering from stores or restaurants, and pretty much everything in a store or restaurant you can buy. There are certain restrictions like tobacco, alcohol, which is kind of something we're working on right now. But it's generally those types of things. You can't order money cards and things like that could be used in weird ways. So for the most part, we can pretty much deliver anything.
That's awesome. So how did you get involved with Grabit? I mean, let's go back several years, pre-high school. What kind of kid were you, man? Oh man.
I was really curious. I like to take anything and everything apart. I mean, I would take apart a vacuum cleaner. I want to know how everything worked. So I was always working on something, always, tinkering something, soldering something together. So I've just always been interested in engineering and just creating, something that wasn't before. And so I went to Auburn University where I did software engineering. And that was really good for, teaching me the fundamentals of programming and how to stay ahead when, you're working in the technology field where, 6 months goes by and you're out of date, and so a lot of what they taught us was they were like, everything that you're going to learn by the time you graduate is going to be irrelevant. So we have to teach you how to grow, how to learn quickly so that you can keep up. How can you learn a new programming language? How can you adapt to that new technology, that sort of thing. And so I was working there at Auburn as well for their website, helping develop and bring their engineering college to a mobile first platform for all of their websites and everything. And so I was working with them, and I stayed there and did an MBA, which taught me a lot about just business. And, as a programmer, you kind of only see one side of it. Right. But I was dead set on, wanting to work in tech startups, work up the ranks, and create something really big. And so I wanted to know all the business side of it as well, so I could, manage better, not get taken advantage of, develop better products, that kind of thing. So I did that. And eventually down the road, I met Mike Landry, and he's one of the co-founders, and he had started it by just putting his phone number on a website. and said send
okay.
me his personal phone and said, send me, your grocery list and we'll get it taken care of.
And what year was this in? Just so we can get some context.
Yeah, so it was 2017, early 2017, 2016, when that first started. And so that was the most rudimental. I mean, it was literally a phone number on a website and one of those square card readers.
Yes.
And so people would text in their order, what they wanted, huge, lists that were just insane. And then we had to try to figure out how to get it to them and do it quickly and do it at scale. And so I was living in Mobile at the time. I had started a little business that it's called Door Trends, and it's some software that bars use to manage their guest list, who's on the list, who's not, that kind of thing. And they can see analytics as far as how many people are coming in per day and trends and things like that. And so I was there, and Google and Techstars were hosting an event in Mobile, and it's like a startup weekend where you go in and you have a bunch of people and they pitch an idea to the group, and then everybody votes on 8 or so that everyone thinks the most interesting. And then from there, you all split up into those groups, and then you work over 72 hours to basically put together a pitch deck, flesh out all the ideas, and then at the end you pitch in front of real investors.
Okay.
And so it was we didn't sleep much. It was very, very interesting. I learned a lot. But one of the people I met there was Mike, and Mike had actually traveled over in search of trying to find a developer. And his position was, we were just on a team together, and at the end of it he said, hey, let me take you out for a beer. I just want to pick your brain. And so we started talking about it, and he said, look, I've got this business, it's growing, we've got investors who want to invest, and we want to really grow it up, but if we don't have a programmer on the team, some kind of a tech lead, there's just no way we can really scale it up. We need an app.
Right.
And so that's what I was doing. I was working on my bar business. I was developing apps for clients, kind of one-off. And it was just perfect. And so I said, well, I really want to, do something like that as well. And I love the concept. And so I said, well, I'll come to, Louisiana with you. We'll pitch to some investors. And if we get an investment, I'll stay, and so that's kind of how it worked. And so, it was crazy, man. We pitched to some really amazing people, and they really gave us a shot. And we said, look, we don't want much. We just want enough to see if the idea is good. We think it's good. Right. The customers like it, but we don't want to waste your money, or ours. So, just let us get a little bit of something to have a runway and just see. And so that's what we did. And we were living in this, 1-bedroom apartment. Anytime it rained, the whole place would flood. I mean, it was terrible. I was sleeping on an air mattress.
Dude, the glory days. That's what you mean. The glory days.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of hard work. I mean, all you did was work and sleep. And so, and driving around a lot. And so it was really, really interesting experience.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of startups, and I love how you said that you only wanted just enough. You didn't want a big raise so you could just, take off for however many years. You were like, hey, we want to test the idea first. Yeah. And I think some startups, they don't really have that notion initially. They're like, how much can we raise?
It's a lot easier to get 30,000 than 300,000.
And how much can you do as a lean startup model? Yeah. You can get accomplished with 30 grand.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing all the programming, you don't have to hire it out. Yeah. That's so crucial, I'm sure, to the start and the growth of the company. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was really, we just kind of took inventory and said, what bills do we have to pay? What can we put in? Because it was every time we get a new customer, they then order repeatedly, for the next couple of years. And so for us, it's like any dollar that we take out is costing us, down the road. So we wanted to take everything and just test it first. Yeah. And then if that worked, then we have something much stronger, evidence to show to bigger investors and say, okay, look, we tried it. It's looking good. Let's pour some gasoline on the fire. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, it's getting that initial, body count, I guess, for lack of a better term, for the app, saying, look, we have this many users coming on. But I think the bigger question that investors are looking for is how many repeat users do you have?
Yeah, sure.
Especially something, apps for comparisons like Waiter, Uber Eats, something like that goes and gets people what they need from the store without them having to leave.
Yeah. That
first time you come through is great, but that's just a one-time customer.
Yeah.
It's getting people in the notion of, oh my gosh, I don't have to grocery shop anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to the store to get this anymore. I can use Grabit and say, hey, give me this.
Yeah.
And then boom, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. And we see that a lot. We see people who get things delivered on a weekly basis. Sometimes it's the same thing. Sometimes they're really odd, but then, we get a lot of like mothers who with, children, newborn children.
Yes.
And they need a lot of help. They order a ton of diapers, formula, things like that.
I'm sure you know exactly where all the diapers and the formula are in the stores.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Dude, okay, so you're a heavy programmer then. From what I heard, you were doing like little side jobs as a programmer while working on your other, bar baby essentially.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that. I know it's a customer tracking list for restaurants, but how did that go?
So it's going well until now. It's been really tough because a lot of the bars have been shut down, and my clients are having a really tough time. So I totally understand for them. But it started out in 2013. I was living in Auburn, and I was working on a website for a bar, and they had a specific list of what who could get in and who could who had to pay cover, and I noticed one day that they were every day they were printing out these 80-page Excel sheets, with like 8,000 names on it.
Jeez,
of all their members and stuff, and then they had 2, 3, 4 of them for each door to check people coming in, and so
they're like 360 pages worth of stuff,
printing every day, this and that, and so finally, and I just kept noticing when I would come in for meetings, and I finally said,
right,
what is that, And so once we started looking at it, I said, we could make an app for that, and really make this easier for you. And the way that he would input names, he would write it on a napkin at the bar, and then it would go to the manager, and then it was just a big process. People would get lost. And so I developed the first version for him that was just where we could give the bouncers tablets and they could check. And then when I moved to Mobile, I noticed that in Alabama, if you want to have a bar and it be open past 2 a.m., you have to be a private club, but designated by the state.
Okay.
And so
what's the difference?
You have to have a membership at the bar.
Okay.
And then at that point, you can serve alcohol later in the day, or later in the evening. And so when I moved there, it just became annoying because I go to these bars and you had to do paperwork to walk into a bar. I've never seen anything like that. And it was every bar down the street. You had to do paperwork to walk in.
You had to become like a member of the bar.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here like, oh man, I already made this for one bar. Well, if I can, rewrite it and just tweak it a little bit to follow the legislation and make sure it keeps them in compliance, and it saves them from having to buy so many cards, pay someone to file them away, this and that. And so I just tweaked that and started making it for them to suit their needs. And so that's been going well. All of the major bars in Mobile use it. I'm working on eventually having some help expanding it into some other parts of Alabama. And there's a couple of other states as well that have the same kind of regulations. And so if it just takes a little minor tweak and it saves them money, it's just kind of a no-brainer. So
especially you're saving money from not only paper costs, but just the headache
of sure.
Did that guy's name get written down?
Yeah.
And if you miss one name, you've got to make sure that every person at every door has that name added to it, or you have to reprint all the lists. Yeah. Whereas with yours, you're like, oh, wait, he's missing, insert, and then boom, everybody's updated.
Exactly. And all the tablets are updated at the same time,
dude.
And so it was just a no-brainer. And then I started looking at it and said, man, this is a lot of data that's coming in. What can we learn from it? Can they look at the trends that will probably get better and better as we get more data into it, and be able to determine how much alcohol to buy, how many people to have staffed, And so the whole idea with that was to just take the same kind of tools that I was used to in the tech world for websites and this and that, and it's the same kind of traffic, it's the same kind of customer flow as you get on a website, but in person.
Right. Well, and then it becomes your whole staffing solution. I mean, that's the biggest thing for bar owners and restaurant owners is how many people do I staff?
We actually have the bar that it started with in Auburn. It's a very, very large bar. It's and what they do is they have actually portions of the bar that they open up throughout the night, and so as it gets full, they'll open up more. Or if it's a night they know, they constantly are kind of modulating between how big the place is versus how many people they expect.
Dude, and that's all done like they're able to see by 9 p.m. we need to have this wing opened up.
They can pretty much see what their expected traffic's going to be and everything.
Dude, and so have you like expanded to restaurants as well, or just within the bar scene?
No, right now it's only really the most useful for the bars. And it's as that kind of started growing is when I joined Grabit. And so since then I've been pretty much all of my time on that. That's kind of been on in the back seat while I'm working on Grabit.
Gotcha.
And so they've had a tough time because they've all had to shut down. Right after everything started, they kind of contacted me, and so I've worked with them. But thankfully, the past couple of days, I've noticed more and more of them are coming back online. So it's good to see them back operating again.
Oh yeah, now that we're starting to enter phase one, people are getting more and more out there, and I'm sure by the time this episode goes live, who knows what phase we're going to be in. Yeah. But so how is it balancing that? I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to do multiple things. Yeah. For me, I can't sit still for more than 5 minutes.
For sure.
Even though my shows are an hour long. Yeah. Plus, I'm able to work with that. But I know for some people, they like to have little projects. And so what kind of have you seen with the balancing act between two could be potentially massive time accumulators between the little time that you have? Yeah.
Well, thankfully with that app, it was something I wrote in 2013 and I've refined. And nowadays it doesn't give me any headaches. It runs itself. Everything runs on Google servers, so unless they go down, my stuff is still going to be up.
Pretty good people to hedge your bets with is Google.
And so I don't really have to worry about that much. And so that one actually doesn't take a lot of time. And if I have to, I have some great people that I can work with and contact and say, hey, can you help me out with this part? Let's upgrade this and that. Let's migrate this and that. So at this point, it's mostly just maintenance. With that business, really, I need someone in sales in Alabama that can go around and meet with owners. It's a lot of FaceTime with bar owners, and they're kind of hard to get in touch with as well because they work weird hours. They've got a lot on their plate as well. So it really takes someone persistent to go find them and get them to sit down for 5 minutes.
Don't call them at 9 a.m. Yeah. They're sleeping still.
So exactly. And so while I've been here, I've kind of had that just in the back seat. But you're right. You really have to balance it well, and you have to get a good work-life balance as well, or else you'll just burn out.
And that's huge with anything. Being an entrepreneur, running your own business, or even working your typical 9 to 5.
Definitely.
I'm in the accounting field, and during tax season, which this year is 7 months, not 4.
Yeah.
You're running 12, 14 hours a day for 6-7 days a week from January through April 15th.
Yeah.
Now it's slowed down a little bit, but having that balance is tricky in any field. And so it seems like you've kind of found that, whether it be through one taking the back seat because it slowed down, or just realizing what needed more time and what could handle less.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is too, it's like, how it is when you're an entrepreneur, you get your hands dirty in every aspect of it, and you control a lot of it, and it's really tough to hand over the wheel to sometimes. And so a lot of the way that I've been kind of finding balance is finding really good people that can help, empowering them, giving them responsibilities, and working together.
Yeah, it's, as an entrepreneur, when you start out, it's great to be just yourself, but you quickly realize you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
We can do everything.
And you have to accept, right, that everything's not going to be perfect. And you have to totally put it in the back of your head and just say, all I can do is, do my best, try and get it done.
Dude, that's it.
But otherwise you'll just stress yourself out.
You'll stress yourself out, and if something's not absolutely perfect in your eyes, you're going to panic, or you're not going to get it out there.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest crutch I've seen with entrepreneurs is being too afraid because it's not perfect.
Yes.
And they're like, it's not ready yet. We're not ready to go. We're not ready to launch. We're not ready to get out there. I had Vishal Vasanji of Relief Telemed on. And prior to all this COVID situation, he was like, oh, we're 3 months out before, releasing the app.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden coronavirus came in and he was like, okay, no, we're going live tomorrow.
Exactly.
And you have to adapt and make those changes.
I think, the timing is just as important as well. I mean, it's so important. If this is like an example of, the box was shaken, the whole world was shaken up a little bit.
Right.
And I think it's important to, the good entrepreneurs will find, opportunities in that.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. And going down that route, how have y'all been doing during this coronavirus? I mean, right now in my head as a layperson, I'm like, oh, they've got to be spiking and going crazy.
Yeah.
Because nobody's leaving.
Yeah. It's been insane. I mean, one of the really interesting things, the orders have just been through the roof. I mean, it's all day and all night. And people are ordering like their lives depend on it, which is, kind of true. But it's a lot more serious. And I think for me in my head, before I've always been passionate about this project. Right. But before it was kind of a convenience thing. It was kind of I'm on my couch, I don't really want to get up. I want to have someone bring me this snack or this meal or this or that. And so from my point, it was like, this is just like a nice convenience thing for people. Mm-hmm. But as soon as this hit, I mean, it became dead serious.
Right. Well, it became personal at that point.
Yeah.
It became the fact of, okay, people can't get out.
Yeah.
And delivery drivers are essential, at least I think they were.
Yeah. They were.
And so you're like, okay, we have an essential business here that can help people in more ways than just they're being lazy.
Yeah.
Now it's to the point of, okay, this mom needs diapers. This mom of like 3 or 4 kids whose husband is an essential worker, so he can't go anywhere because he's working and all this other stuff. She now needs to be able to go to the store, but can't pack up the 4 kids with this, the risks that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's been amazing to see. I think our team can feel it too. I think our team has been able to feel, because we're still kind of in the middle of it. Our team has been able to feel like it's not just kind of all for fun and games anymore. This is like real life. And we're constantly hearing stories of people who, whether it's elderly and or really at high risk, that don't or can't get out. To all kinds of things. I mean, it's just been a lot more serious. I think they can do it. And then we're also seeing things like people are leaving little handwritten notes for our drivers. I mean, we've seen $20, $30, and $40 tips, for their drivers. Gosh. I mean, people are very appreciative, of our great drivers going out and getting what they need.
Yeah. And so what is it like kind of getting drivers right now? I mean, I know a lot of people who were working in some, in bars or restaurants, they had to essentially lose their job or be furloughed. Are you able to find people that are being furloughed and saying, hey, come work for us?
Yeah. Well, we have no shortage of drivers. We have like a 6,000 person waiting list.
To be a driver.
Dude. And it's all over the country. And like, it's unfortunate that we can't hire them all right now. Cause I mean, that was one of the main things going through my head when this all started, was like, we need to raise money now and we need to get everyone hired, now,
Yeah.
But
go global now.
Yeah. If only it was that easy, so we've never had any shortage of that, but we've definitely noticed an uptick in applications since this, because unfortunately a lot of people have lost their job and are looking for some way, to make money in the interim or going forward.
Right. And so how are y'all working with the growth? I mean, I know how many cities y'all in right now?
So I think officially it's about 10, 3 major in Louisiana. So we're in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Lake Charles.
Okay.
But we also deliver to all the surroundings. So Prairieville, Bruley, Gonzales, Denham Springs, Addis, as well as Broussard, and Sulphur, and there's another over there I can't think of.
Another small town in that general area.
Yeah. So a lot of it right now is those 3 main ones, and then the surrounding areas.
Okay. And so what is it like going from, getting a new city on board? What are the kind of steps y'all go through, the protocol? Like, what's your next city your next big hub you're looking at, and kind of what are some factors going into that decision?
Yeah, so right now we're mostly focused on those 3. We're mostly focused on, there's a lot of things that So at Grabit, we really like to test everything. We're like extremely methodical. We A/B test something in this city, try it here, and every city's different. I mean, people have different ordering habits, different spending habits as well, and so a lot of it is research on trying to figure out, like we target a lot of zip codes. So like we try to find, we try to make sure all of our ads are hitting the ideal customer. And like one of the ways we do that, and this is kind of how we open a new city as well, is through a lot of like targeted like Google ads. If somebody Googles, Panda Express, delivery or something, and we can have an ad right there that says get it delivered now, or Chick-fil-A delivery. Mm-hmm. It's just a really easy transition. They can easily say, okay, and they go to the website, and then they say, okay, I'll get the app, and then they order and they're happy.
Yeah. So it's finding that keyword Google phrase search is kind of like your bread and butter almost.
Yeah. And honing that. Like one thing that we learned was, if by adding the word menu in there, that helps a lot. I mean, it makes sense. If you're looking up the menu, you're probably looking that up too. And so that's been really interesting, is to kind of let the data guide us. But kind of back to your question on opening new cities, it really just comes down to, the thing is that we've tried to make this thing, because we were such a small team, and in a way, a lot of ways are a small team. We've tried to automate everything. It was really interesting. Like we've tested certain markets where we'll turn it on, and we'll turn on our ads, and then within 45 minutes, people are driving and making deliveries.
Oh, gee, that's fast.
Yeah, it's really fast.
Like for like a new city you'll haven't even gone into. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, usually what we'll do is we will hire some drivers in that area, have them ready to go, and then as soon as we turn on the ads, people start ordering.
Wow.
So that's been really easy. But and the thing is too, is that was one of the things when we designed the business model of Grabit, is we did not want to have to go and get a partnership with everybody. We didn't want to have to go and meet and sign contracts. That just seemed like a big bottleneck. Yeah. And all of this stuff is public information. All the restaurants, we work with some great partners at Foursquare that have a huge API and database of different venues, their phone numbers, their hours, this and that. So we can kind of work within that framework. And so the way it's set up is, if you download our app in any city in America, it already has the popular restaurants. So like the data comes in from Uber as well. Like when you take a ride, to and from, there's all kinds of data that comes through. So essentially it's really easy for us to open a new one. It's finding good quality drivers is the challenge. And finding, if you can partner with people in the city, that helps a lot.
Yeah, well, so can we go into the classification of your drivers as far as employee, not, or independent contractors? So what do y'all classify them as?
They're independent contractors.
Okay. And so how does that work so if somebody orders something from, like I say, I put them an order, go to like Albertsons or something, and I get, 10 or 12 items. If something comes back and it's not the exact item, how do you solve that problem?
So what happens is, whenever someone places an order, so drivers can go active or inactive whenever they want. We can't tell them when to work. And then whenever someone places an order, anyone who's active and within an acceptable range gets a notification that says, Patrick has ordered from Albertsons. And so then the first one to accept it gets it. And then after that, they go through, and this is a recent addition. We're now able to show, what does the photo look like? It helps the driver find it. And they're trained to message the driver or the customer if there's any issues, to say, hey, they don't have this. Do you want that? Because it's kind of goes back to the question you asked earlier, like, how do you handle the unpredictability of what people could order?
Yeah.
It's really difficult. And because you don't know where they're picking up from. We have to kind of try to anticipate what people are going to order before they order, and also look at the data and see what people are ordering and how can we streamline that process for them. But that was a big challenge was, how do we know if it's on the shelf?
Yes.
How do we know do they even sell that item? That type of thing. And then maybe they only have the wrong flavor. And so that type of thing, I mean, unless you have a massive, massive team, it's almost impossible to program. I mean, you still can't get every, combination, covered. And so we just said, let's just let the drivers and the customers talk. If they want to message them and ask them directly, and that works really well. And I think it helps with tips as well, because it feels like a more personal touch.
Yes.
It's not like you edited your order and you drop down and you picked a thing. You had an interaction with someone. And I mean, we've had drivers that will drive around town to find you that thing. I mean, they'll go to 3 different Walgreens, like the one big thing this recently, Clorox wipes. Everyone wants to get Clorox wipes. And I mean, we've had customers who order every single day, at 8 a.m. ready to go, Clorox wipes from this place, and they're always sold out, and so, but our drivers, will go around, they'll find it, for them. And so they appreciate that, and they tip. And so it's kind of, it's where in a way we're kind of like a food delivery, but in another way it's more of a courier kind of, it's like having someone who can help you out, and go grab it for you, quickly, and take care of the job.
Right.
And we now have where the customers can rate the drivers and this and that and leave nice tips. And so that's been working well, and it lets us know, what drivers we want to keep and which ones we want to, not work with so much.
Yeah, and it gives whenever I'm using the app, it gives the user that peace of mind, like, oh, this person has, 5 stars or something, or this person has 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
And the time they didn't have that, they got the half stars because they were 15 minutes late and you had that one customer.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, you're 30 seconds late, you're getting a bad review. And you're going to run into them.
Yeah.
You're going to run into the ones that are going to call and say the milk was cold. Okay, well, there was 5 o'clock traffic in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that happens. And one thing that we try to do with that is we try to give them more visibility into the thing. Sometimes you order something and it's like a black box. Your order was sent off and then who knows when it's coming.
Shows up.
It just appears at the door,
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we said from the onset was that we wanted real-time tracking. We wanted you to be able to look at the map, see where the driver is, see when they're at the store. But then even further on that, we're now even showing a look into while they're shopping. So now you can see, of all the items that you have on your grocery list, you can see how many they've gotten already. Whoa. And you can see it live. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but that's another thing.
I haven't used it at grocery shop. I've used it to go grab me some food or something, but because I enjoy that grocery experience. Just walking to the grocery store. And
for sure.
Maybe one day if I'm not here, my wife will use it, I'm sure, because she's like, the last thing she wants to do is go to the grocery store. And I know a lot of people are like that. So having that ability is huge.
Yeah. And so that's what we want to do. We wanted to give them better visibility so that they aren't wondering, and let them just give them a lot better information.
Yeah, and it's having that access as a user, and having that experience of knowing exactly when the product's coming and where the product is. And I'm sure they can even send a picture of like, hey, they didn't have your right brand. Here's the closest thing. Is this okay?
It happens all the time. You'll see like someone the other day ordered salsa and they took a picture of the row and they didn't have the salsa they wanted, so they just took a picture of the whole row and said, which one do you want? And so it's a level that it's a level that you can't get with a lot of other services. I mean, you have someone who really is caring about getting what you need, because typically you need it for some reason. You're trying to cook dinner for your family, or lots of reasons.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't order it if I didn't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like I'm just shopping. I can wait and have that shipped.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, I need this. I've got my meals planned out for the week.
Exactly.
I need this done.
Exactly.
And so, how are you kind of screening the drivers to ensure you maintain that high quality?
Yeah, so we background check all of our drivers out the jump. And we've recently started new programs where we're spending more time with them ahead of time. I mean, some drivers show up and they've got a vest on, and they've got like a retractable card thing to show their ID. I mean, they're like 100% drivers, and they are very serious. It's very impressive. It's very impressive to see them because they're very professional. And then some are terrible. There's a lot of terrible ones, and so we have to easily and quickly get rid of those and find the good ones. And so like one of the ways that we're doing as well is we're starting to offer, if you maintain a certain, rating, a high rating, you'll get offered the orders first in that first minute, and this and that. But it's also kind of a balancing act, because if it takes too long for an order to get accepted, people will cancel their order. Right. So we have to find a way to feed them all to the best drivers and closest drivers, and not take up too much time.
Yeah, and then it kind of creates a little bit of competition between the drivers. Definitely. Of like, okay, I have to do the best job because that's how I'm getting my money. I'm getting these orders based upon my track record. Definitely. And if I have a bad order or I mess something up, I'm not going to get the order.
Yeah.
And it's that attention to detail that I'm sure, like y'all were going back to how y'all were saying you're so methodical and how the app's created and how everything's developed. It's finding those drivers that seem can be a challenge, but once you find them, it's like, don't go.
Yes.
Please,
we'll
please don't leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so what is it, how do you know when you have a bad driver outside of reviews? I mean, I know some people are hesitant to leave a bad review if they have a bad experience. Yeah. So how are you able to kind of weed those out?
Ours tell us immediately if there's a bad experience. Thankfully, we don't have a lot, but when something does go wrong, they tell us immediately, because they do have that direct line to talk to us. Some places it's a lot tougher to get an issue heard, but we want to be on top of everything, because a lot of times it's something that we could say, we could tweak the app and not have this issue anymore, or we could put this in the training and not have this issue anymore. And so we'll go back to what was your question about? How did it start? About this, how did your question start?
Oh, about going into the drivers and trying to find the bad weeds that come.
Well, I was gonna say another thing is that we also observe. I mean, we have people who are watching each delivery. Some just go and you don't even notice it; they just go on. But sometimes we're watching, especially if we have someone who we're worried about has been getting bad ratings. Like, for example, we can see where the driver is throughout the delivery to even a finer degree than the customers can. And we've caught drivers that will accept an order and then they also 5 minutes later pick up a Uber, and then they pick up somebody and drop them off and are just wasting our time and our customers' time.
Right.
And then they pick up the thing and then might take another, ride share in between when they drop it off. So we get rid of those people.
Yeah, I mean, you got these. It's just rude. They're in the gig economy. They're trying to pick up little gigs here and there.
Yeah, I get it, but it's like, if you're in the middle of one, show some respect. So
you should work like a non-compete clause into the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to like an app or like a startup kind of mentality that y'all have, what are some of the lessons that y'all have come up with in developing the app? I mean, I'm sure you've already had experience developing one. Mm-hmm. Kind of what did you learn from that moving into Grabit?
Well, I mean, I think even when I was at Auburn, when you're working on the website, you have tons of people. I think one of the main things, the big takeaway is like you have to know your audience and you have to tailor each part to that audience. When I was at Auburn, we had to think about what were the donors looking at, what were the parents looking at, what are the students looking at, what are potential professors looking at. And so it's the same kind of thing with us. We are constantly trying to think about what do the restaurants want to see when they're considering partnering with us? What do the retailers want to see? What do the customers want to see? And so that was a big takeaway as far as that, and then also removing any barriers. So one thing that you really have to worry about in app development is like drop-off rates. And so we've all been there. We download an app and then a text comes in and we don't ever finish setting up the app. Maybe a week later we might open it or delete it.
Right.
And so that's a huge drop-off point. Or when they download the app and then they've got to put in their address or their credit card.
Yes.
All of those are big drop-off points. And so, a lot of what we do is a lot of what you're doing is you're trying to think about the psychology of the user when they get to the app store, if they even download it from the app store. You know what I mean? Because if they get there, if your pictures are low quality, I mean, we get these reports from Google where they show us trends in the app stores and what people are downloading, how people are acting inside of apps and stuff. And it turns out the quality of your icon is one of the most important factors in if someone downloads your app.
Yes.
Like regardless of the features and this and that, if the icon's not great, they're out.
Especially for a new app that you're trying to get the brand out there. I mean, if somebody sees like Facebook, they know what Facebook is.
Yeah.
But for you, it's like, okay, Grabit. How are we going to stand out?
Yeah.
How are we going to be that app that somebody sees and it's like, okay, what is this?
And it's a hard lesson to learn because you, as a programmer, you want to just make the best app. You want to make all the features and have no bugs. But if no one downloads it, there's no point.
Yeah.
And so that's a big factor too. And then also when they download it, if they drop off because you didn't do a good job of handling the situation or presenting to them that they need to enter this information, they're out. Yeah. And so that's tough because typically to get that customer, you had to pay some advertisement funds to get them to download it. And if they don't order, it hurts, and already the conversion rates are low across the industry. I mean, typically you don't always buy something when you go to a website, or an app, but that's been a big thing with every app I've worked on is really thinking, like, getting into the head of the customer. And what are they thinking? They're hungry. What are they thinking about when they're using your app? And what are the things that could trip them up? And then also putting in analytics. We have almost every button in the app tracked. We know if someone clicks this, if adds to the cart, but then doesn't order it, and what percentage is doing that. We know, how many ones they viewed, how many venues they viewed before they placed an order, right. So that is essential because then you can really see, oh wow, man, we have so many customers at this point and they got to this step and so many dropped off. We got to work on this page specifically.
Yeah. And what about this specific page made them drop off?
So I think that's another key when you're talking about things and practices that came from developing it was, letting the data show us and drive us on what we needed to work on.
Yeah, and that's so huge in apps is the data.
Yeah.
Of the users and the ad tracking as to where people are seeing it, how they're seeing it. Are they scrolling through Instagram or LinkedIn or something at 6 o'clock in the afternoon? Like I'm starting to get a little hungry, and so you start seeing Grabit ad. Now. Within that data, are y'all partnering up with like restaurants and bars and grocery stores that are running promotionals? If a restaurant's like, tonight is, happy hour at 4 o'clock, are y'all kind of incorporating that within the app?
So not yet. Right now, we're in a process where we're trying to build a dashboard for the restaurant partners for them to be able to go and edit their menu. Right now, we enter every menu ourselves with the team.
Okay.
Which is extremely tedious. We have we have tools that we can use that make it a little easier, but it's really high touch and you've got to know what you're doing if you're entering it into the database. But we have a lot of that stuff that we've made kind of administrative tools for. So like when I was doing that with the bar and when I was doing my clients, a lot of the work that I did was in organization apps and software. So things that would take their processes, take their really tedious man-hour things, and how can we make it really easy for the people who don't want any change? And how can we improve it and organize it? And so we've started to do the same kind of thing with ourselves, where we have an administrative app where we can go in and easily add items to a menu now. But the next evolution of that is an outside facing thing where the venue owners can come in and say, okay, this is our special, or this is no longer on the menu, and as well as promos. So that's another thing that we're working on right now is letting them, if they want, subsidize. Because one thing I don't think we've really covered that differentiates us from all the other services is that we don't take any percentage from the venue.
Okay.
You hear about some companies here that are raising and raising and raising to the point of there's restaurants protesting. But we don't take any percent because we know already the margins in restaurants are small.
Yeah. Restaurants, grocery stores. You're working on small margins, but high volume.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't take any percentage out of their pocket. And so that's been really useful as well.
So how then on the flip side of it is the revenue model, I guess?
So basically what happens is it's $3.99 is the base to place an order, and then we charge $1 a mile. And the reason we do that is so that we can allow people to use it like a taxi or use it like a ride share, they can get something from some part of the city to somewhere else. And we're not restricting them really in any way.
Right.
And then what happens is we take the prices off the menu. We take the prices off of the restaurant and off of the inventories of the sites, and just add a small markup to it. And that because our drivers have credit cards, these big red Grabit credit cards that they swipe.
Right.
Because the thing is if you want to, it's really difficult for us, someone like us, to call up a Walmart and say, hey, why don't you build us something so we can use, we're integrated into your system nationwide. They don't even,
who are you?
Yeah, who are you? And so what we said, we don't want to have any of these limitations. We don't have to go do this. Here's a credit card, and they're very secure, these cards. They only are funded during an order and only for how much they need. And we have lots of restrictions on where they can swipe it, and it's tied into where the driver is. So it's very safe.
It's that meticulous background that's all coming full circle. Meticulous. Okay, let's not just give them an open credit card.
Yeah, can't do that.
Limit it. All right, you have a 1 hour window to purchase your stuff.
No, seriously, it's very much like that.
Oh, geez.
And I mean, if their card is not in the same location as where it's ordered, it's not working either.
No, that's cool.
And so we have everything locked down on that. But that's why we have to mark it up a little bit, is to pay the driver, and to pay the credit card fees and this and that to swipe,
right.
When you go into the store, and also to account for just making sure that it's going to happen. And we don't try to take a large percentage at all from ourselves, because once we set up the platform, it's the drivers out there doing the work.
Right.
So we make sure the drivers are getting paid well, and we want them to be paid better than other services, because they're doing more. It's a much more personal touch and action. And so our opinion is we'll make money at scale. Let's just make sure our drivers are getting taken care of. We don't want people protesting us or this and that. And we don't need to. We really, if we can cover our costs to develop the app, and run advertisements, and create more jobs for the drivers, then it works out well.
And then that goes back to that lean startup model that y'all been kind of moving forward with everything. I mean, making sure that the customers first, the drivers, are second, and then we'll come in wherever we can.
Sure.
We want that user experience. We want the drivers to say, hey, we enjoy working for Grabit.
Yeah.
We love the community. We love what they're doing for us.
Yeah.
And they're paying us well.
Yeah.
And so then it gives them incentives to stay and maybe drop off those other couple apps and do just
and
Grabit.
I don't mind if they're driving for other apps, as long as it's not during one of ours.
Right.
Because many of them do. I mean, many of our drivers, you'll see their car with 5 stickers in it, every service you can think of, and they're hustlers, man. They get an order and they go. I mean, it's really impressive.
It's a job that I don't think we would have imagined a decade ago.
No.
We would have, delivery drivers where, you're driving for the big guys, your UPS, your FedEx, and then your mail, USPS, but not for apps.
Yeah.
Not for individuals needing stuff the same day.
Yeah.
I mean, within the hour almost.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, that is, having something delivered to you within an hour is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That I can order something at a store and have somebody bring it to me within an hour. It's all right. What was the cost? All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's here.
And many other services right now are having 3-day delays, which is wild. I mean, I couldn't imagine a 3-day delay.
Yeah. Prime is going to have an interesting conversation with everybody after this when the 2-day shipping went to a week and a half.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Okay. So kind of getting towards wrapping up the show. You've done a lot, and you've been kind of with programming at the center of it. Mm-hmm. What are 2 lessons for any programmers that are out there that you would give when they're just starting out?
I think one of them goes back to what we were talking about. There's a phrase in programming that, like, if you released and there were no bugs, you released it too late. And I think that so often people get caught up in wanting it to be perfect. That just becomes a big mental roadblock for them, and it's like their ego is on the line. And the thing is when you put something out, you're gonna have tens of thousands of people using it, and they're gonna find things that you didn't think of. They're gonna find some way to click the button wrong, that no way you could have thought of. That's gonna give you a bad day. So I think that you just kind of have to push it out. Obviously you don't want to release anything terrible, especially if it's important or there's something really responsible on it. but you want to make sure you get it out there, because that's also where you're going to learn what you can improve on.
Right.
So, I mean, just, they say, like, if you want to do something well, do it in public, or do it on video, that kind of thing. And so I think that's really important. You get the comments, you get the feedback, and it completely can change from what your head is. And I think another important thing for developers is it's not about what you want. It's not about how you want it to look or how you want it to function. You have to keep in mind how the customer or how the user is going to want it. Because so often you can get caught up in, this is my baby. This is the thing I'm working on. I want that button there, but then you look at the data and, you see that people are skipping over that button.
It's right at a point when you scroll. It's right above the screen.
Exactly. And so I think that's a big thing. And I'll add one more thing is it kind of goes to the same thing as that. It's so easy to get in a bubble.
Yes.
When you're only talking to, I see some people who have apps where they use weird lingo that in the app that you'd only understand if you were a professional in that industry, and the average customer doesn't know your industry very well.
Yeah.
Not as well as you do if that's what you work in all day long. So that's a big thing too, is just keeping in mind that it's going to be used by a lot of people who aren't familiar. So that'd be a big thing as well.
Okay. And so you originally were in Alabama.
Yes.
Working on the bar scene and doing all that stuff. What made you want to come to Baton Rouge outside of the app, but more importantly, what made you want to stay?
Well, I really like the people, and I think the people here are a lot more risk averse. I think, people are much more willing to try something new, to invest in something like this. And so I love both, so I can't really put either one down. But I really like the friendliness that I've received here. And I've been really impressed with the number of entrepreneurs I've met here, which is really amazing. And how many as well. I've been really impressed with how well a lot of the companies, the small businesses, work together here as well. Specifically buying that brand, these guys' coffee for your shop, or specifically getting this, biscuit from that baker, and that's really impressive just to see everyone supporting each other and building it up together.
Yeah, it's a support local first community, man.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That is so true. And that's one of the big things that I wanted to do with the show, is bring people on locally who are doing great things in the community, that are building the community up. It warms my heart to hear you say that you've met so many entrepreneurs in Baton Rouge.
It's amazing.
Because there are so many out there.
Yeah.
And it's shining a light on those people and what they do and the great things they're doing in the community is just huge to let people know, hey, there's great people out there doing awesome things.
Yeah.
So come check us out, and don't just write Baton Rouge off.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't write Louisiana off as just the
sure.
boot with a bunch of Cajuns and their shrimp boots and everything.
For sure.
We're doing a lot more than that.
I agree.
So what is something that I can do to help you throughout this process or in anything?
Well, I don't know. You've done a lot already. We appreciate your orders.
Sat outside, man.
We appreciate your orders. We appreciate you giving us the shout outs after.
Heck yeah.
Anytime we can get more eyeballs on it and expose more people, that's really useful for us. And so, this has been great. I think you'll have to have me on. That would be a good way to help as well. Another time down the future.
When I can get all of y'all.
We'll
get all the co-founders on. We'll have some drinks. We'll sit around and we'll chat.
That sounds great.
And we'll do a progress report.
That sounds great.
Perfect, man. Well, Nic, thank you very much for coming on the show.
For sure.
And for everybody listening or watching, thank you all for taking the time out of your days to enjoy this. I know I enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, download the Grabit app. Check out them. They're all over social media. Give them a like, give them a follow, whatever platform you're on, and order through them. Come on, support local, and they pick stuff up for you. What's not to love? So thank y'all so much. I'm Patty G here with Nic from Grabit. Y'all have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks.